Today we're going to talk about a 1939 Graham Combination Coupe. This is a car in our collection that is not completely finished. It's finished enough to drive it, finished enough to actually use the car. Mostly what's left is cosmetics or final assembly. But we really want to show you some main differences between it and the four-door sedan. Four-door sedans were produced by Graham from 1938, 39, and 40. Those are the Spirit of Motion years. In those 3 years, they always made the majority of the cars as four-door sedans. But in 1939, they introduced a combination coupe and a two-door sedan. Today you're going to see the combination coupe. As we go around, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the difference between this car and the four-door sedan. So as we look at the side of the car here, the front of the car back to the cowl is the same. Exactly the same between all of the Spirit of Motion cars as far as the general appearance. 1940, of course, has a slightly different nose. When we come along the side here, though, the two-door versions of this car were produced by Graham with brand new tooling to make this entire door section and the window section above it. That's all brand new. Also brand new, we have this little pillar and the rear window section as well as the rear quarter. These are the portions that Graham had to make new for the car. Now the top, even though as we go along you'll see the top is shorter, this is a closer coupled car than a four-door sedan. The top is actually cut in the middle, a section removed, welded back together, and they have a leaded seam across the top of it. So they did not make a new top die when they made the shortened roof for this particular car. The two-door car gives you a much larger trunk. We'll go back there and look at that in a moment. It's so big you can carry a couple of dead bodies in it. But the regular trunk is not that large. Now what happened? Same wheelbase? Simple. They've moved the passenger compartment forward about 6 inches, losing about 6 inches in the rear back seat area. Still plenty of room for 6 people to sit in this car. It's just a little tighter for your feet in the rear of this car. Looking towards the back of the car, we notice the high-mounted tail lamps just as we're used to on the four-door sedan. This is actually the same casting completely. All they've done here is shorten the total length. They actually cut the front portion of it off, and you can't tell that, except that I told it to you because it's hidden behind the drip rail. But that is how Graham made the tail lamp to fit this car. They shortened the regular casting. As we come around the back of the car here, we can see that it has the trunk, as I've said, about 6 inches or so more depth added to the trunk because the top has been pushed forward. If we open the trunk compared to a standard four-door sedan trunk, it's extremely large. The four-door sedan trunk actually ends right about where my hand is. This has an extra 6 inches in there, making the trunk much more roomy than you're used to in the four-door sedan. For reference, this car is equipped with 1938 style bumpers and bumper guards. This is in fact a correct thing. You could order these in 1939 added to your car, even though they had changed the style for 39. And I actually think the 38 version is the best looking version they had. As we come around the car here, we have another electric locking gas cap. A little piece of information for anybody wondering about these. This is an accessory. And if you look at our little brochures video that we had, that's actually one of the items in the brochure video is the electric locking gas cap. And here's the real interesting thing. It's the same part as the Chrysler Corporation, exact same piece. There is no difference. As we come along the side, one of the things that kind of bothers me that you'll see people say on the internet is it comes with optional fender skirts. All Spirit of Motion cars came equipped with fender skirts. They're not optional. They always came equipped with it. And if you take them off, you can clearly see they look ridiculous without them because all of the mounting hardware, everything is built into the fender. They actually were not add-ons. They're built as part of the fender. It's got to be there or it doesn't look right. We're going to show you the back seat of the car here, and you can see it's more close coupled than the four-door sedan. Plenty of room for 3 people across, but more close coupled. You can also see the armrests are quite different from the four-door sedan. And obviously the seat, since I pivoted forward, the entire front seat mechanism setup, other than the seat cushion, is different from the four-door sedan. Seat belts are an added addition in the car for safety. They were not built in the car in the first place. When we look up front here and look at the dash, we'll see a number of interesting features. One of which is the knobs on the dash are completely different from the four-door sedan. The purpose of the knobs being different is not because it's a combination coupe, it is because, in fact, Graham was using up parts. And so these knobs are whatever they had, that's what's in the car from original. Down below that, you'll notice that there is a radio directly below those three knobs. This is a correct Graham radio located in this car, and because of where the knobs are, the radio could not be mounted in the dash section for its controls. So we have another spot that mounts the controls. The actual radio is directly above the steering column. That's the way Graham did them, and the way most of the manufacturers at the time did them. The other thing you'll notice is the interior color of the car is completely different from the four-door sedan. Both of these are called custom Superchargers. They're both model 97s, and yet they have different interior colors, and both of them were actually built that way. Our Graham for the 39 four-door sedan did have striped material in the first place, and this one really had this material underneath a set of leatherette 1950s seat covers that had been put in and protected the original fabric. So we do know that it was in fact this color inside. All right, we're going to talk about a little bit of what's going on under the hood. It's similar to the other car you've seen before. We're not going to go real in depth, but let's open the hood and look at a couple differences here. Underneath the hood in this case, we happen to have an actual Marvel Schebler carburetor. Now the Marvel carburetor gets the joke that it's a Marvel if it works. They're somewhat hard and finicky to make work, largely because I've discovered there is a casting made of Zamac inside of them that appears to bend over time. And you have to figure out you need to add a Viton O-ring that wasn't there originally, and then the carburetor will work quite nicely. So we actually have the correct carburetor that Graham furnished with the vehicle. Other than that, it is also a supercharged engine. We are running it as a 12-volt negative ground. It was a 6-volt positive ground in the first place. This just makes it more handy if you ever needed to jump the car when you're out in public. Other than that, you're really looking at the way it was built. Wiring colors and locations, etc. Other than this battery system are the way the car was. One other unique thing we have under here is this little tower's worth of stuff. That little tower there that I'm pointing at, that is the kick-down overdrive. The 1939 sedan has a standard overdrive. This one has a kick-down overdrive. You overstep the accelerator and it'll momentarily change the ignition, drop the car out of overdrive because you momentarily stop the car's ignition from happening. That lets the car get out of overdrive, and you can't even tell there's a skip in the engine, but there's enough to take it out, and it's kind of nice. It creates a passing gear effect. So this is a fancier overdrive than the other car. One other thing we need to talk about is something that most people don't know belongs on these cars. This particular rubber piece, as well as the screen, are rather useful items. The screens were something you'd pay for as an extra from Graham, and you really do want one. This keeps the bugs out of the radiator. This piece, though, is an air deflector. The air deflector, when you bring the hood down, this comes up near the hood, deflects more of the air through the radiator instead of over the top of the engine. And this part is always missing on every one of the cars we've ever seen. How do we know it's real? Well, one of the members of the Graham Club had a car in the 1950s, and it was still there then, and it's the way it was from the factory. That part actually does belong on the car, and very few people know it's supposed to be there. And in modern traffic, when you're stop and go, it's kind of nice to make sure you're keeping all the air you can possibly keep going through the radiator. Looking at the front of this particular Graham, something to let you all know about. These hood louvers on the side top have yet to be plated. I've got them on here as primer right now. They were in fact plated on this car originally. So was the grille. It has a complete set of stainless steel grille teeth on it, and it also has a fancy bumper combination. All of that was on the car originally. This car actually was built with every single chrome option out of the Chrome Accessories group on it. My guess, it's probably a showroom car. We do know it's a Southern California car. It also was not originally equipped with a heater. Part of the way we know it's a Southern California car, but also because of who we bought it from, it had come from Southern California. So this particular car, basically rust-free, all the chrome is original. Last thing that you should know about the car that's rather interesting, obviously it's partway painted. The gray color you see down here on the hood sides and other parts of the car that are done, that's called airliner gray. That is in fact the coded color that's on the rear floor of the car, telling us that yes, by this color combination number, this car was airliner gray. And when you look at the wheels on the car, the red centers on the wheel discs were the way airliner gray Grams were made in 1939. So that gives you a little overview of a car from our collection that's most of the way done, a bit to go yet before it's totally finished. One other thing you may have noticed when we've been walking around this car, we do not have lights on the side of the cowl. Those were added on the four-door sedan for signal lights. We have two little signal lights located on the front bumpers, which we think on the little sports we made are a better solution for providing signal lights for the car. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe. See you later.